I have Annette with me today, and we're going to talk a little bit about her HCG journey, and we're also going to talk more in depth about her P3toLife experience. For those of you who don't know, P3toLife.com is a structured approach now to doing phase 3 of the HCG protocol, and it really takes you beyond that and shows you a way of eating that a lot of women are finding is different than what they could expect to eat and maintain, and that's really part of why I made it, was because so many of us feel like we're stuck eating chicken breast and broccoli for our whole life to maintain, or we get to phase 3 after HCG and we regain weight back because we don't really know how to eat in a way that seems doable, and to still maintain. So anyway, welcome, Annette.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yes, I'm so happy to have you. I really appreciate you taking the time out. Why don't we start with just kind of a little quick rundown of your basic stats, like your age and height, and just your basic weight loss journey in a nutshell with HCG.
Okay. Well, I am 51 years old. I'm barely 5 feet. I'm 4'11" and 3/4, so I just say 5 feet.
I'm taller than someone. This is so awesome. We're 5'1". I beat you.
Yeah. I was a size 12 when I started ACG. Probably was a 14, staying in the 12s because I didn't want to go back to 14s.
I hear you.
And I'm now a size 6. I can fit some 4s, so some of my size 6s are too big because I just finished another round last month.
Cool.
And so I went, I dropped 43 pounds total.
Wow.
And that was 5 rounds that I did. So I did 2 rounds from a clinic here in town, and then I started ordering from your site, HCG Chica, for the last 3 rounds.
Through one of the
and did it on my
providers
own.
that I've
Yeah.
referred to. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what else was I supposed to tell you? I forgot.
Yeah, no, that was good. You know what I wanted to ask you about, because she gave me notes beforehand, so I have her whole story here. So you talked about your dosage on your first round of injections and how like you had a bad experience and then you learned something from that. I'd love to hear your dosage story, if you will.
Yeah. So the clinic had me on 20, is it 200 IU?
Yeah,
I
200
never know how you
IU.
say it.
Mm-hmm.
But and so I had already done a round before, 2 years before, where I was on the 20 for 30 days. And I got through on just sheer willpower. And, I guess you can tell yourself you're not hungry when you really are. If
Yeah.
you're constantly in the kitchen kind of pinching off stuff because you're like, you really are hungry.
You were hungry. Yeah.
So I got through that round. I think I lost only 11 pounds that round.
Gotcha.
And I just didn't want to see HCG again after that because it did seem like, well, I go on the internet, start looking for, hunger with HCG because I'm so preoccupied with food, and I end up on HCG Chica website, and you start talking about dosage. And I saw that either you or someone else had done the 17.5.
Mm-hmm.
And so I switched to the 17.5 the very next day and immediately had energy again and had no hunger. It was like I
Wow.
wasn't on a program at all, and I didn't think
Wow.
about food.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
so when that happened, I was like, it's a miracle. I'm,
Like
I'm
what?
sold, and I can see myself doing it again to lose a significant amount. Before it was like, okay, if I lose 5 to 7 pounds, I'm fine. But
Right.
this time I was like, I think I can lose significant
I could
pounds.
do this.
Yeah.
Thank you
So,
so much for sharing all that, because I feel, I mean, you see I have, you guys, what she's talking about is about dosage and how it relates to hunger. And both too high and too low a dose will cause really bad hunger on the diet. And so if you go to hcgchica.com/dosage, that'll take you right to the post that she's talking about. And it's a very long article and it has like a bunch of HCG dosage stories from real people, just because, as you said, it took you 2 years to find the courage to try the program again,
yeah.
because it's so incredibly undoable and
Yeah.
miserable, right? If
Yeah.
you're that hungry, and you don't have to be. But unfortunately, a lot of clinics prescribe HCG in dosages that just aren't really dialed in for you.
Right.
And it's amazing how just a tiny adjustment too, right? Because from going from 200 IU to 175 IU, that's only 25 IU difference, to change your hunger that much. And sometimes people don't believe that and they think it's like a placebo and all that. But like for any of us who've experienced it, we know it's like this is a real thing, you know?
Oh yeah, yeah. I
Especially
thought I
because
would
like,
try it.
people tell you that, taking HCG will make you not hungry, right? I mean, that's what we
Hmm.
read. So if it
Right.
was a placebo, then when you take the 200 IUs, you should be not hungry
Right.
for the placebo effect.
Exactly.
But then you're like,
Yeah.
oh my
I'm
gosh.
hungry. Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah. I was
So,
thinking I'm not gonna make it unless I do
yeah,
something, and I found that. And
gotcha.
the menopause thing too, because I don't know if I talked about the
No,
fact
yeah.
that when I started it, I was menopausal. So that second round, my dosage had to be really low because I don't know, there was a hormone shift or something. And
Yeah.
I mean, I was just tailoring constantly on that second round, and I ended up, I think, at about 9 or 10.
Also, like 90
Uh,
to 100 I use.
yeah, yeah, that's the lowest I've
Yeah.
ever had to do in all the rounds. But it just seems
Gotcha.
like sometimes, when you're menopausal, it's
Yeah.
kind of, you have those bouts of where
Right.
the hormones are kind of
Right.
off, and then they balance out again.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you mentioned that actually, because for any women that are going through menopause or premenopausal, it is true that sometimes you end up having to take an even lower dosage than Dr. Simeon's had even prescribed, which was
Hmm.
125 IU. Like you said,
Hmm.
you were on 90 to 100. And did you feel
Hmm.
like that did, like lowering it did definitely help with the hunger when you needed it at that point?
It helped. It did help with the hunger, but that round it just felt different
It was
than
harder.
any other,
Gotcha.
because I had to constantly, I was like at
Always adjust. Yeah.
12.5, 11, and I didn't feel as,
Gotcha.
again, it was the round where I jumped back on HCG in response to not stabilizing.
Yeah,
So there's
gotcha.
no telling what was going on.
You're like all kinds of crazy stuff. I
Yeah.
gotcha. Well, it's still good that you share that though, because and I think one of the reasons that perimenopause or menopause you end up needing a lower dosage sometimes is because from what I've read, when women are in that phase, they actually their body will intermittently produce more HCG in their
Yeah,
own
that's what I
body,
heard. Yeah.
yeah, than a regular than I
Hmm.
don't know regular life.
Hmm.
So anyway, it's just kind of fascinating. But so you're not crazy, like if you're hungry, it means
I,
an adjustment order, and and sometimes it's
yeah.
not as a little tougher than others. But yeah,
Yeah.
so thank you for sharing that. And I also like that you mentioned that being not hungry then also changed your energy levels when you had the
Oh
right
yeah.
dosage.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Just
So
not, you don't feel heavy. I sometimes when you don't have the right dosage, you feel sluggish and very heavy, and
yeah,
it's hard to do anything, seems like.
right.
And immediately I had energy as if if I were eating 1,800 calories or something. So
Yeah,
it was
that's great.
awesome.
That's
Yeah.
great. Yeah, like you said, not even feeling like you're on a diet, but yet you're eating the 500 calories. So
Right. It's totally
it's like, how does
amazing.
that even work? But it
Yeah.
does. Oh,
Yeah, my
good.
husband witnessed that, and he's like, that's just outrageous that you're eating this and you're fine. You're eating 500 calories,
Yeah.
and you're not thinking about food. I can eat fried chicken in front of you and you're fine.
You're like, what? That's
Yeah.
cool. Awesome. Well, why don't we go into 43 pounds, that's a huge accomplishment, first of all. So you look great. Why don't we talk about your experience now with the P3 to Life program? I'm curious what made you decide to actually try it out. Why did you decide to try out P3 to Life?
Because just, it's kind of like what you said. It's either that or eat broccoli and chicken and just
Yeah.
a little more of it than you ate in P2. And I had been on a low carb diet. I started low carbing since 2008, in 2008. And it was to the point where where, just like the women on the keto diet said that they could eat just a little bit of carbs and pop up in weight.
Right.
I was sort of like that, and I had just kind
Gotcha.
of resolved to be there. So when I saw a program where you reverse diet basically to get your body to accept more calories and
Yeah.
then different kinds of foods, I was just very happy that I would now be able to include some carbs and, even the high carb vegetables you're afraid of when you
Right.
do a severe low carb
Right.
diet. So that's kind of where I was. And I was just really happy that now I can include a lot of fresh vegetables and high carb vegetables or higher carb vegetables. That
Yeah.
was just exciting to me because it felt a little bit unhealthy to stick to just, the meat and certain vegetables like green beans and broccoli and salad.
Right.
So missing out on a lot of the other vegetables. So doing
Yeah.
this was an opportunity to include those and get healthier.
Good.
And you feel very healthy on P3 to Life
Oh,
because
good.
of the bulk from the vegetables. So,
Good.
and they taste really good.
Oh, I'm glad. That's awesome. Now, that's so
Yeah.
good. How did your so you have done some previous P3s. So how does it compare?
hmm
Like what struggle? Well, I guess you've already mentioned the struggles that you had on previous P3s as far as what you felt like you could do. Um,
hmm
how did your weight stabilize in previous P3s compared to this time?
The very first one I didn't stabilize, and it was the one where I didn't include the fruit. And I
Oh,
sort of
right.
probably
During
did it to
P2.
lose more weight. Yeah, during
Right.
P2.
Yeah.
That was the one where I didn't understand what was going on when my body wanted to jump up. So I jumped right back on HCG after 8 weeks.
I see.
So it was more of a battle, just battling a steak day, correction day,
Right.
end up, with extra pounds on Monday that you didn't have on Friday. So it was
Gotcha.
just in a state of correction. Even though I was eating mostly probably P2 foods, I think I would go high fat too soon in my
Mm,
other P3s.
gotcha.
It's like, oh, great, I can eat a whole plate of chicken wings, so
Yeah. It's low
that,
carb.
there's no carbs.
Yeah, that's true. I did the same
So,
thing.
yeah, so I would go very high fat because there was no carbs.
Right.
Um, and I would always include alcohol. The day I got off, that third day, I guess, that,
Yeah,
you
after
come
the
off P2,
transition
you wait 3 days.
phase. Yeah.
Here comes the alcohol as soon as that happened. And,
Yeah.
you're 2 and 3 pounds the next day.
Right.
So, so this time, and then I did have a good P3, my third round, I believe it was.
Yeah.
Um, no, I think it was my fourth round where I did go really slow. No alcohol. The first week, still the broccoli and the chicken and fish. It was still just that.
Gotcha.
No mixing of foods, no recipes,
Yeah.
just staying really simple so I could see where I would go wrong.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so that's,
And
and
so
so
that did work, right? So it
I did
worked.
stabilize
So
that
that was
time.
good. Yeah,
Yeah,
so that
yeah,
worked. Now,
yeah,
how would you compare that to doing P3 to Life? Like, what's the difference in the types of food and the variety? And did it work? Did that work?
yeah.
Following that.
So with P3, it was a lot of food, a lot more than I would have allowed myself to eat. I would have been
Okay.
too afraid to eat
Yeah.
portion sizes that big. So I just said, I'm going to trust it. I'm going to do it. Hey, Rizal says it works, so I'm going to do
Yeah.
it. So, in the first week, the portion sizes are huge, so I really
Right.
did try to eat that much food.
I
And,
had to make another video, like telling you guys. Like, I had several emails like, "What happens if I don't eat all the food because I'm full?" I'm like, "Okay, wait, hold on.
yeah,
Yeah, you don't have to eat it if you're stuffed. Like, just eat to
yeah.
satisfaction."
Yeah, I tried to eat all the food and it was kind of too much for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think I was worried about not eating enough and
Right.
making my body think, oh, I'm still starving.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
was really trying to, I was splitting those recipes in half and I was, eating the whole thing and I was
Yeah.
really, really
You're
stuffed.
like, ah.
So, and that was the first week. I really, and I followed the the basic, what is it?
The
The
original
original?
plan, yeah, and
Yeah,
that has more recipes and more cooking, just to give you
yeah,
guys, for those of you who don't
yeah.
know. And then there's a simplified plan with eating more of the same recipes, so there's less cooking. But anyway, continue.
When you're on low carb, severe low carb, you really don't get that variety. So I was like, oh my goodness, look at what I get to have. So
Yeah,
I'm looking at all the pictures showing all the great food, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm gonna cook and I'm gonna have, a variety
yeah,
of food.
good.
So it was a lot of cooking. I didn't do much batch cooking.
Yeah,
I was cooking something every day, but I realized that, like I said, cooking was like a long lost friend. I like to cook, but when you're on a severe low calorie, low carb diet, you it's so complicated sometimes that you lose the joy of
yeah,
cooking. And
yeah,
so this brought the joy of cooking back. And so I didn't mind cooking something every day,
yeah.
even though some days it was, the time crunch.
Right.
But yeah, it just the variety, the taste of the food is just amazing, and
Aw,
then you don't gain weight.
that's
So
so great. Yeah,
yeah.
speaking of that, we'll talk a little bit in a minute about gains due to like digestion
Oh yeah, yeah.
and maybe that
TMI,
type of stuff
my
when you're
TMI.
choosing to do maybe fasting just because you choose to. But outside of that, would you say that, like, did you need any actual correction days due to fat gain on P3 to Life when you were stabilizing?
I didn't do any correction days.
That's awesome.
I was always like right at that 2 pound some
Yeah,
days. So it was like what point 5 to point 0.8. The first
yeah,
week is where I was.
yeah,
And then the second week was where I was having the digestive issues and having to figure that out because of the
yeah.
bulk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all the fiber in the vegetables. That's great. Why don't we, since we're talking about that, why don't we talk about that for a minute? Because you actually left a really helpful comment on the P3 to Life site about fixing digestive issues and how, sometimes you might think you need a correction day when you don't. You just need to use the restroom, but there might
Yeah,
be a problem. So
right.
so would you mind actually sharing, like, yeah, what helped you with digestion? And because especially when you're coming off P2, sometimes your digestion has kind of slowed down because you just haven't been eating much for
Right.
6 weeks. So
Yeah.
you're just like kind of need to get your whole digestion back to speed, back up to speed. So what did you
Right.
find helped you?
I had to do probiotics because on P2 I just don't mess with any herbs or anything. So
Yeah.
so I had to do probiotics, and I kind of did like big doses of it
Mega
that
doses.
weekend.
Yeah.
Um, and another thing that really the magnesium citrate,
Okay.
um, is what I take to kind of keep regular. And
Yeah.
then when I get up in the morning, drinking a cup of water as soon as I get up,
Gotcha.
just to, keep things going.
Yeah.
But but yeah, one morning I think I was up 1.8 overnight, and
Yeah.
I felt bloated. It was like I'm gonna burst here.
Yeah.
So I had to do start trying to take care of the piping, the
Yes.
plumbing,
Yes.
so it'll go
Right.
the way it should.
That's good. And
Um,
did that kind of smooth things out once you kind of got that
Right. So
together?
I wouldn't do correction days because I had a feeling that's what it was. And as soon
Yeah.
as I would take care of that, I would be back down. So
Awesome.
I was fine with that. And then week two of P3, week one of P3 and week two and so on, I would start on a Monday. So that Monday would be my fast day.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Just to kind of give myself a break because, like I said, I was not
Right.
used to eating
Right.
that volume of food.
Right.
So just kind of having that break till
Right.
dinner on Mondays worked well too.
Gotcha, cool. Yeah, and I love, because I love intermittent fasting myself as well, and I use it as a tool and for my long-term maintenance. Because like you said, it gives your body a break. Digesting, from what I read, is actually one of the most like energy consuming things that your body
Hmm.
does on a daily
Yeah,
basis. And if you're a person that
yeah,
eats frequently or large meals, I mean every
yeah,
day, then it's a lot of
right.
energy.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah,
like, like this nice thing. And I don't know about you,
yeah,
I actually find myself more energetic and more clear-headed on my fast days. Do you have that
yeah.
experience or no?
I do. I get a little sluggish towards the end because
Yeah.
I'm going a pretty long time, and I'm
How
talking
long
a
is your
lot.
fast? Yeah, how long is your fast?
Um, so it'll probably be from 8 o'clock that evening until about 5 the
Okay.
next day,
Yeah,
5
so that's a
p.m.,
good
5 or
like
6.
22 hours then
Yeah,
or so.
yeah,
I
yeah,
could do
something like
math
that.
maybe
21, 22, yeah,
21,
somewhere.
22. I don't know. Well, and
I
anyway,
know,
well,
I'm not good at it.
it's interesting that you say that because you're right. Towards the I can usually only really fast about 20 hours, and usually around the 20-hour mark I will start,
Yeah,
like you said, getting I will like, okay, I need to finish the fast basically.
right.
I'm like getting
Yeah,
tired, getting hungry,
yeah,
distracted by needing to eat. So, yeah, that's my
yeah.
limit.
So,
So,
yeah. So,
that's
and I
cool.
would just break the fast with whatever P3 meal was for that day.
Gotcha. So you're doing the fasting about 1 day a week then, you said, right?
Hmm.
For about the
Yeah,
20 hours. So that's really cool.
right.
And then do you do any exercise during P3 or now or no?
So, so I didn't do it during P3 because I'm like so scared to mess up anything.
Yeah.
But I started right after P3 was over,
Okay.
and I started weights. So
Awesome.
imagine, but
Yay.
imagine when I get on the scale.
You're like, yeah, I'm always usually up, especially if I do a weightlifting at night, like in the evening, the next morning, forget it. I'll definitely be up
Yeah.
at least a pound and a half. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's probably about a pound and a half for me too,
Hmm.
because I was in between like what I guess 135.4 to 136
Yeah.
point something like that, and so now it's
Yeah.
like 137.
Yeah. And it's okay.
Um,
You know?
yeah,
It's good that you're doing
what'd
that,
you say?
even though like it affects the scale a little bit, and that I know that can be nerve-wracking because I went through the same
Yeah,
thing. But it's
yeah,
totally worth it, you know?
yeah. I just said I was gonna trust it because I watched your videos about
Yeah.
working out. I've been all
Yeah.
over the P3 to Life website.
Yeah.
I've probably covered all of the videos, I would imagine. And there's just,
That's
yeah, a
good.
lot of support.
That's good.
So I decided to just go ahead and do it because, I figure having the muscles will help me burn calories better and eat
Yes.
more.
Yeah.
My last round, I was sort of where I had never been before, at the weight I had never been before, and I stabilized probably about a pound above the last injection weight, and I was scared to go to the gym.
Yeah.
I kind of wouldn't go. I didn't
Yeah.
go.
You're like, I didn't.
I didn't go.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would walk around the neighborhood, but I didn't want to do anything to make me go
Right.
and I was at 139, right? So I didn't want to
Yeah.
get it to 140,
Yeah.
right?
You're like,
So
that's
I'm
the cutoff
holding on
point.
to
Yeah.
139 for dear
Yeah.
life.
Right.
Um, and so I wouldn't go to the gym, and I think I fasted a little too much as well. And
Mm.
I told you I got into some trouble there with my weight because I think my body was like, okay, you're starving me and you're not giving me exercise.
Right.
And I started going up.
Anyway, interesting. So how often
So
were you fasting when you were doing too much for you?
I was doing the one where you fast till lunch,
Okay.
and I think I was doing it almost every day.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I think that kind of got me into trouble. And the other part was the fact that I wasn't really eating a lot, right?
Ah,
So
so
when I
when you
would
were
come off the
eating,
fast,
yeah,
right, I wasn't,
gotcha.
and what I was eating was weird too because it was almost like my appetite changed and I wasn't really hungry. So, I was eating Greek yogurt, nuts,
Yeah.
my wonderful pecans,
Uh-huh.
and fruit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and then some, not eating a lot of vegetables because I was like, oh my God, that has carbs in it.
Right.
So I'll stick to meat.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I
and
remember
I
in
want
your
to eat my
notes.
fruit.
Yeah, and I remember in your notes you had
Yeah.
said something about how, which is what a lot of us women think, we're the low carb mentality, like I can't eat any food that has more than like 3 to 5 carbs.
Right.
So then
You get like that. Yeah.
yeah, and so then you're thinking,
Yeah.
like you said, that all these vegetables are bad and will make you gain weight, and that you need to stick with all of these other low carb foods that are actually really calorie dense. So in a small, you end
Yeah.
up eating a lot of calories, or like you said, maybe not eating enough, or being
Right.
chronically low carb. So
I know.
yeah,
Yeah.
gotcha. No,
Yeah.
that's good that you brought that up because I talk about that, which you probably remember in the P3 to Life site. For those of you who become a member, I have a whole series on fasting because even though I do use it as a tool to maintain, just like Annette brought out, I find women, we're sensitive to fasting, to me, more than men. So you can very easily do too much of it and then your body rebels. And I've had the
Yeah.
same experience. So it's really
Oh
important to
yeah.
separate out your fasts, and eat enough when you're not fasting. So like for me, I actually
Okay.
still don't eat breakfast to this day. So technically I fast until lunch every day, but
Mhm.
my meals are quite large. So my lunch and
Mhm.
my dinner are, I eat about 2,000 calories a day. So
Yeah.
yeah, so for me, I'm eating plenty when I am eating. So my body's not like freaking out, but I never do a fast day like back to back, because when I do, I notice that um, just the scale will go up more easily later on, even though I'm eating the same as I was before. I don't know. It's just
Mm.
kind of interesting, you know?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah. Yeah. I
it's
was
good.
just I was not eating enough.
Yeah.
And I don't know, just trying to hold on to that
Yeah.
number.
And it's a miserable
Yeah.
way of life too, you know, like
Yes.
it's just like, it's so, but you, like you said, you just feel like you're kind of stuck with that to be the way you want to be, you know? So I wanted to know if you could share a little bit just about your personal life when it comes to how busy you are, your responsibilities in life, and how you made it work with cooking P3 to Life. And again, just for all of you guys out there, there's two ways to do it. Annette ended up following the original plan, which does involve more cooking, and a lot of full-time working ladies don't do that because it's more cooking. So we have a simplified plan that a lot of the full-time workers, working gals use. But anyway, with that said, you decided to follow the original. So tell us about, just your responsibilities and how you made that work.
I end up having to do about 45 minutes to an hour commute, both, one way and then
Wow.
back
So an hour and
home
a half
about 45
driving.
minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. Um, so, sometimes I get home and I was trying to follow the recipes in order, especially that first week. I really wanted to do everything
Yeah,
exact.
exact.
Uh, so, and that first week was just me. I wasn't cooking for anyone else. Fine, really. If a recipe though called for, let's say a sauce in addition to like a meat and a vegetable,
Right.
then that would sort of rattle me because it's just one step more that I
Right.
just felt I couldn't handle. So
Yeah.
I decided, that during the weeknights it should be something that's just, like a meat and a vegetable that maybe is
Yes.
popped in the oven, right?
Right.
So I think that makes it easier if you move them around. And I know you have the micros set just so, or is it macros? I forget which
Macros.
one.
It's fine.
Macros set just
Yeah,
so.
whatever. We know what you mean.
But and I know you have some ways to substitute them, but I wanted to just stay on track. But
Yeah.
if anybody else in my situation wanted to just look for the recipes that would
Yeah.
be easier to do during dinner, meaning it's just
Yes.
a vegetable that goes in the oven maybe, and then the meat
Yeah.
that you do in a pan would be
Right.
easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, just trying to find the easy to do on a weeknight.
Yeah.
Now on the weekend. So I would do those like on Saturday night or Sunday night,
Gotcha.
because there's no way I will be able to get up and do breakfast
Right.
and get out the door. So
Yeah.
those would be ready to go.
Gotcha.
And lunch, many times lunch is part of what you have for dinner.
Right.
But if it's not, I would do that on the weekend, right?
Gotcha.
So just to make sure I had at least Monday's lunch, and
Gotcha.
then maybe Tuesday's lunch would be made Monday night.
Gotcha.
So, but like I said, I kind of really like cooking in a sense. I missed it because being on such a low carb diet, it's
Right.
just vegetables and meat, and my husband would do, meat on the usually.
Yeah.
So doing the program, was a way to actually get to cook and have
I enjoy
multiple
it.
ingredients and spices. So yeah.
Good. That's good. And it sounds like it like created a better relationship with cooking and eating again too.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, it just does. I mean, it just sort of normalizes things.
that's
You
good.
don't feel like you're on a program.
Cool.
You just feel like you're cooking dinner and having dinner, right? Like
That's
the
awesome.
normal people
Yeah,
who
like
keep their
this is
weight
what
off.
it's like to be normal. That's funny.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's so good to hear. I'm really glad to hear that. And so, you actually just gave me a good idea, which is that
Mhm.
because the simplified plan was born from the thing that full-time working women were like, I can't cook this much. So the
Hmm.
simplified plan was born from that. But I actually just thought of, I need to just make a list of all the
Hmm.
recipes like that you said that are very quick. So for
Hmm.
like someone like you who maybe is fine with still cooking nightly,
Hmm.
maybe doesn't want
Yeah.
to do the simplified plan, but doesn't want to have
Right.
to figure out which recipes are quicker, I'll just make a
Right.
list and that will be
Yeah.
on P3 to Life soon.
Yeah. That's very
That's we need
helpful.
to do
Yeah.
that. Then you don't have to figure it out.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about, like making it so that you guys don't have to do like all this legwork and instead all you have to do is
Uh-huh.
like get your food and cook and enjoy it and enjoy your meal, you know. So
Right.
I'm gonna do
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah. And I also would look for ones that you could do in the Instant Pot too.
yes.
Right. I would always say, oh, this will be pretty quick too, because I can just throw everything in the Instant Pot. So that's good for weeknights as well.
Yeah, you're right. I love the Instant Pot. It's so awesome.
Yeah, I
Was
bought
there
one just for the program.
Did you? Yeah. Well, I can't stop telling everybody about it. So I tried my mom, like for the longest time, I kept telling her about like the Instant Pot. She's like, what is this Instant Pot thing? I'm like, you
Yeah.
just have to get one. It's unbelievable. She's like, I don't have any counter
Yeah.
space. Like, you know, like I don't have room for another tool. And I'm like, I'm just telling you, I use it like every day. And then like last year, Amazon Prime had their special deal, right? And I told her
Uh-huh.
about it, but it was like for the smaller ones. So she didn't do it
Uh-huh.
that year. So then a year goes by and then this time I'm like, Mom, guess what? Like it's Amazon Prime Day, like, and it was the bigger one. So she got it, and
Oh,
now she's
wow.
like constantly texting me, like, guess what I just made in the Instant Pot?
Yeah.
Guess what I just made in the Instant Pot? You know?
Yeah, and
So
I just take mine off the counter and sit it in the pantry. So
see,
so it doesn't have to stay on the counter, but oh
see,
well.
there you go. She was just looking for excuses.
Yeah.
But it's so awesome, you know. So,
Yeah.
well, tell me. So you mentioned you did cover a lot of the site, which there's a lot there, and I don't intend for people to have to like consume it all right away. You know, it's just supposed to be like a long-term thing. But was there any of the like coaching video section that kind of spoke to you or resonated with you?
Yeah, was it emotional eating for sure,
Yeah.
and trigger foods were the
Okay.
two that I really wanted to kind of hone in on, and look at what I've been doing in the past. Because for me, around holiday times especially, I gain a lot of weight. I mean,
Gotcha.
we're talking 7 to 10 pounds, and and I'm not trying, and it's not that I've thrown caution to the wind. I'm really trying to be cautious, but
Yeah.
what I've found is, I've been reading books about introverts. I'm a big introvert, and
Yeah.
I have to have my in the heart of my element. I love people. I
Yeah.
love being at parties,
Right.
but I'm using a lot of energy as an
Right.
introvert instead of gaining energy,
Yeah.
um, like an extrovert. And
Right.
so I realized that I will start eating. And I don't know if it's because I'm using up a lot of energy or if I'm stressed, but it's sort of a happy stress
Right. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I'm enjoying being with people.
Right.
But so it's happy. I don't know how to explain it, but I
Yeah.
end up eating even when I'm not hungry.
Yeah.
And I have tried to eat at home and go to an event, and I go to the event full, and I will still eat as if I have not eaten.
Yeah.
So,
I'm the same way.
yeah. So I don't understand
I've
that.
heard the same tips before. They're like, here's
Uh-huh.
strategies to not overeat at a function. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, like you, I will just totally eat just as much. Like now I've just doubled my calories.
Exactly.
Like that didn't work too
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, because people say
Gotcha.
eat before you go. So, okay,
Gotcha.
I'm eating before I go. And I
Right.
get there and I'm talking and I just start picking and chewing.
Exactly.
Um, and then, the holidays, we go visit family. I'm around people 24/7. So
Right.
I start eating. I'm not really hungry.
Right.
Um, and so I think just being mindful that that's what I'm doing. I think that's going to help. The holidays are coming up, so
Yeah.
I'll get a chance.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm cutting out.
No, it's
Hopefully,
fine.
I'll get a chance to test it out and see how strong I can be. I
Yeah.
remember, you talking about trigger foods. What was it? The army that
Yes. The army with the bag of
never
donuts.
eat. Yeah. So that happens. especially we were talking about pecans. I thought even this round, I was like, oh, okay, I'm eating all this food, so I can have pecans in the house now because I'm eating so much other food. I'll be able to eat just a little bit of pecans. Well, no,
Like,
because
no.
I keep going back to the bag to get
Yes.
more. So, I kind of really can't have pecans in the house. They're trigger food.
Yeah.
Like you said, the soldiers show up
Yeah.
and they say, you better eat this
Yeah.
or, you're going down.
Right. It's
So,
weird how it's only certain foods too, right? For
hmm
you.
hmm yeah.
That's
And
tricky.
pecans is one.
Yeah.
I don't dare try potato chips anyway, but I
Yeah.
would imagine that would be one.
Yeah.
But pecans, I'm like, oh, so healthy. It's a nut,
Right.
but not when you just ate, what, 700 to 1,000 calories in nuts in
Right.
15 minutes. Yeah,
Exactly. I know. I
yeah,
can totally do
but
that. I know.
yeah.
It's
So
funny too.
those
It's
helped.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah,
Because like you said, it's you have to find like what hasn't worked in the past or like what happens, like
yeah,
unpackage it, right?
yeah.
And figure it out and then yeah, because I'm actually the same way with social functions. I realize that I just basically lose control and I don't
hmm
even fully know why. Like, you know what I mean? Like
hmm
I'm not actually craving to eat all the stuff there. I
Right.
just start mindlessly eating because I'm
Yeah.
socializing and so for me, I realized a couple things helped me. So one of the things that I do sometimes do is I actually just don't eat at a function sometimes just because I do know I just
Uh-huh.
lose all control. And so I bring my camera and I purposefully
Yeah.
tell myself like, hey, when I get home, I'm going to have my P3toLife smoothie or whatnot, you know. So sometimes I do that. The other thing though is sometimes I will fast that day before the function,
hmm
knowing that I'll probably eat more and that I don't need to worry as much then. Like I can just like, okay, I can just have one nice large meal, you know, so I'll fast that day.
Yeah.
And then the other
Yeah.
thing is if I like kind of know the foods I tend to get out of control with, I will just only eat certain types of foods there, like only meat and low carb
Right.
vegetables, or, you know, I'll make sure I don't touch any of the other
Yeah.
dishes because I'll know that, you know, and I still have to do that to this day.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so those are the
Yeah.
probably
I'm
the
gonna
few
have
things.
to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And before those, um, I wasn't really unpackaging led to think through what have you been doing
Right.
causing you to regain.
Right.
So I get a chance now to try
Yeah.
some of the things you
Yeah.
said
Yeah.
at parties. I haven't done any
Yeah.
since I just finished a round and I just finished B3 I think 2 weeks ago.
Cool.
So I'll get a chance to try some
Yeah.
try
I'll be
some
glad to hear how it goes. Yeah, because it's like just finding those different things and you can make
yeah.
adjustments. It's just kind of knowing, yeah, what works for you in that way. Um, did you have any like surprises from following the plan, things that you kind of wouldn't have thought would be okay that ended up being okay for you on P3 to Life?
So it was the size of the portions,
Yeah.
right? That was surprising
Yeah.
for me, and the fact that I still maintained within the 2 pounds
Yeah.
range, including things like spaghetti squash, butternut squash,
Cool.
some of the higher carb
Right.
things. Um, was just surprising because I would not let myself eat those things. Like you said, if
Yeah.
it was more than three carbs in it,
Right.
then I wouldn't eat it.
Yeah.
So seeing meals that would total to what, like 20 something maybe or
Mm-hmm.
30 carbs
Right.
was like, okay, let's watch this and see what happens.
Yeah.
And just feeling great that, oh
Good.
man, I'm normal. I
Yes.
can eat what normal
Like this
people eat
works.
without, gaining 6 pounds overnight.
Yeah.
So that was surprising to me that that I could eat like that, and the mixture of the foods again, because I
Yeah.
think when you do low carb, I think a lot of people get creative and come up with recipes,
Right.
but it seemed like those would always cause me to gain.
Mm.
And I don't know which ingredient, so I was afraid to mix because
Right.
there's no way I would know which ingredient was causing me to gain.
Right.
And this time I got to just trust the program
Yeah,
and didn't gain. So I
that's
just
good.
went with it. So
That's
that was
good.
surprising to me.
That's cool.
I was surprised how good the food was too. You
Oh,
know,
good, good.
yeah, you think, oh, I'm gonna make these recipes. They're gonna be diet food.
Right, of some
So,
steamed broccoli with some garlic powder, maybe.
right.
Right.
And then it would taste like diet food,
Right.
and you're like, oh my goodness, this is so good. So I, like I said, I felt guilty having it all to myself. It's like, oh, I should be sharing this. This is so good. My
Yeah.
husband should experience this. So I did include him in
Good.
week 2, and he's been eating dinner with me, and I'm
Nice.
on week 6 right now.
Yeah.
So I continued into maintenance with the program.
Nice.
So he eats dinner with me, so I make the dinner recipes,
Oh,
and
great.
so it was surprising that the food tastes like that
That's
and was
good.
still healthy and everything.
Yeah, I actually do get
Yeah.
that question now and then as far as when they see all the variety in the plan and they're like, aren't we only supposed to add one food at a time and or how will
Hmm.
I know? And my answer is just this has really been tested out by so many ladies now. It's just really just actually not necessary. With the
Yeah.
way that it's been designed with the calories gradually increasing and then like, you know, you even mentioned with like say spaghetti squash or butternut squash even though we're using them, I was very strategic about how much I used. Just like the butternut
Hmm.
squash sauce, it's like mixed with zucchini. So it's like you're
Hmm.
never just eating a whole huge bowl of like,
Right.
you know, something. But as a
Yeah.
result, carbs in vegetables do add up, even if it's onions and mushrooms or, you know. And so it is true that a lot of us ladies, when we see a total carb count on a meal that says, like you said, 20 or 30, you know, and then the net carbs is 15 to 20, you're just like, oh my gosh, that's just high carb, you know? It's like I would have thought the same thing. But in reality, it is technically still part of a low carb diet and you know, the proof is in how you when you guys follow it and you just stabilize so well. So
It really is nice. It
good.
just is. So I just keep following. I just keep
Good.
doing it.
Good.
Now, I did the first 3 weeks really, really the way you planned it.
Yeah.
And then the fourth, fifth, and sixth week, I sort of shuffled recipes around as I
Yes.
as I wanted to.
Totally.
And I did switch to the simplified for the fourth, fifth, and sixth.
Gotcha.
Um, but I wasn't following the exact. It was just
Sure.
like, okay, I'm going to make this one this night
Yeah.
because it's an easier one to make on a weeknight. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's
So,
really
but
that you can do that totally, you know.
yeah,
It's not like I
yeah,
scientifically picked, you know, that day of the week to eat that meal necessarily.
yeah.
Like they're all pretty P3 to life friendly. So yeah.
But it's funny when you're coming off of P3, you're like, okay, she
Right.
said eat this on Tuesday. I'm eating this on
Like
Tuesday. So,
yeah. I understand though, because yeah, I know, like we're so nervous when we get off, you
yeah,
know. So I totally get it. What were
yeah.
just a few of your favorite dishes from the plan?
Oh, I don't have my notes because I said it would be easier to ask me what were not my
Oh,
favorite.
that's right. You did write that.
Because I liked everything, but I
Cool.
can't remember. I
Apple
said I don't have
spice
my notes.
morning mug bread. Oh, the Spanish cauli rice and steak. That's actually one of my favorites too.
Yeah,
I really like
yeah,
that.
that
Oh,
was
and then
my
the butternut
favorite.
squash sauce, of course.
Yes,
Speaking of
yeah,
butternut
that was
squash,
perfect. Yeah,
very cool. Oh, and the fish taco
yeah.
bowl.
Oh
That's one of my
yeah,
favorites.
yeah.
Yeah,
That one is just fine dining to
I'm so
me.
glad.
So instead of the fish, I forget which fish it called for. I used shark because my husband had gone deep sea
Oh
fishing,
my gosh.
and I used shark
Oh, awesome.
there. It was really good too.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll have to train my
Yeah.
husband how to deep sea fish. Except we don't
It
live
was his
anywhere near a sea. Bummer.
it was his first time and he caught a shark. So,
Oh
yeah.
my goodness. That's how big was it?
Yeah.
Like how large are these when you catch them?
Oh, geez. It was probably a 2 to 3 foot
Okay,
shark.
so
So
it's
it's
like
kind of a
smaller. Yeah,
baby.
you
Yeah.
get
A
those
really
huge like the
strong
ones
baby
that
shark.
kill you, not those.
Yeah. No.
Okay. I obviously don't know much about this. Oh, that sounds really good though. Very cool.
Yeah.
Are there any last closing thoughts? Because you know the program is an investment cost wise, so I know it can make people
Hmm.
hesitate. Like, um, I mean, just what do you feel in that regard? Like, is it worth it and why? Just for anyone else considering it.
It's definitely worth it because I think so many of us, are doing a lot of weird things to stabilize and to keep our weight off. And I think this just sort of brings some normalcy, a sense of normal to
Gotcha.
after P2.
Gotcha.
So um, I just think that's it's important for us to get back to life. You
Yeah.
know, we've been losing weight, and P3 to life. It just gets you back to living, and in a safe way. You know, it's just a
Cool.
safety net.
Good.
So to me, I didn't blink at the price really.
Cool.
You know, we pay to get our shot, our HCG injections.
Right.
We do that, and then you know you're probably into another month by the time it's time to do P3. So you
Right.
just pay, you know, pay
Yeah.
again to get that.
Yeah.
Um, you know, so it's totally worth it to me for the peace of mind, and that's what I called it, was peace of mind.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh,
so you
good.
don't have to stress because P3 can be more stressful than P2,
It
and I think a
is.
lot of people felt that.
Yeah. Yeah,
But
just because
this
there
takes
are
the stress out.
no, yeah, there's just so little. I mean, I remember going on Pinterest and like, oh, I found all these great low carb recipes and everything, but then, yeah, how do you combine them together? Or, it's just a lot of work to try to figure everything out and hope that it's okay for you with the calories and, so,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Good.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your experience, Annette. I really, really appreciate it.
You're welcome. It's
Yeah.
really glad, really fun to talk to you,
Yeah, you
real
too.
life.
Yeah, I
You're
know.
kind
You
of like
too.
you're kind of like our HCG superstar.
Oh
So,
no, no, no. I try to keep it real on Instagram stories and like take videos with me in my like morning glasses before I put my contacts in and like my
yeah.
leftover makeup, like and my sweatpants, like totally just hiding out here in my house making videos. All right.